You've probably heard the debates online. The WNBA loses money, so how can players ask for more? Or, why are WNBA players paid so little compared to NBA stars? The players want more. The league wants to expand and actually turn a profit. Let's look at the numbers we can see or the ones we are aware of, cut through some of the noise, and see what's going on with the WNBA pay structure. It's important to zoom in as much as we can, further understanding why this upcoming CBA negotiation might be the most important moment in women's sports history. Let's start with the basics. The WNBA is owned and operated by the NBA. Since day one, the NBA has subsidized the W, covering losses when the league operates at a deficit. In 2023, the WNBA generated between 180 and 200 million in revenue, yet it's still not profitable. The projection for 2024, a $50 million loss. So critics rightfully ask, how can players demand more money from a league that isn't profitable? That's a fair question, but at the same time, the argument could have been made about every major men's sports league at some point in their history. The NBA wasn't profitable in its early decades. MLS teams lost money over the years. Formula One drivers made six-figure salaries before the sport became globally lucrative. Yet the men were paid, invested in, marketed, and elevated anyway. To understand the money, we need to understand who owns what, which is purposely a little convoluted. Currently, the NBA owns 42% of the WNBA. WNBA team owners collectively own another 42%. And in 2022, an investment group purchased 16% for $75 million. This ownership structure gives the NBA an enormous amount of control. And of the WNBA owners, a significant portion of them are also NBA owners. So in any vote about the league's future, the NBA effectively controls the outcome. When the WNBA operates at a loss, that $50 million deficit gets split according to this ownership structure. But when the league makes money from things like expansion fees, the Golden State Valkyries paying $50 million to join, and future teams paying around $250 million, that money also gets divided along this same structure. Okay, so here's where it gets interesting. WNBA players currently receive just 9.3% of the league's revenue. That's the number the Players Association is most focused on changing. For comparison, NBA players get around 50% of basketball-related income, NFL players get around 48%, MLB players receive about 47%. So what does this mean in real dollars? In 2024, the WNBA team's salary cap is just $1.4 million. That's for an entire team of 11 to 12 players. Caitlin Clark, who's already generated millions in new ticket sales and viewership, will make just under $98,000 in her third year of her rookie contract. Angel Reese will make just under $95,000 in her final rookie season. Even three-time MVP Asia Wilson makes around $200,000, while the highest paid players in the league max out at around $250,000. And before we dive deeper into the numbers that we are privy to, it's worth noting the WNBA is a private company with no requirement to disclose financials. Unlike publicly traded companies, they can keep revenue and expense details completely secret. Most financial information we do know comes from NBA or WNBA executives making comments to reporters that have simply been speculated upon. So it's not really verified data, but more leaked CBA info and literal guessing. And of course, this is mostly done on purpose. It makes it nearly impossible to verify claims about losses. This means they have a lot more information than the players, so the players can't see exactly how much revenue they're generating, making salary negotiations and collective bargaining agreements that much more difficult and or interesting. That's what makes the pay disparity debate so difficult. There's no way to resolve this with concrete numbers. The people controlling the information keep their personal stake pretty protected by keeping this information private. This pretty much explains why estimates like the 9.3% revenue share figure have pretty much been calculated by outside analysts rather than being reported transparently by the league. So taking these numbers by a somewhat face value, if only 9.3% goes to player salaries, where does the rest of the money go? The remaining 90.7% covers team operations like travel, the coaching staff, facilities, marketing. It helps cover expenses for the league office. This is going to include administration, referee salaries, arena costs, rent, travel expenses, and game day operations. In 2024, we can look at approximately $200 million in revenue, roughly $250 million in expenses, which gives us that $50 million loss. The NBA has historically subsidized about $10 to $15 million annually, with team owners and investors covering the rest of the losses. So here's where a lot will change with the future of the WNBA and its revenue. It's just announced an 11-year TV deal with Disney, Amazon, and NBC Universal, worth about $2.2 billion. That will give them roughly $200 million per year, an increase from about $60 million per year that they're working with currently. So even if ticket sales and merchandise remained exactly the same, this deal alone could shift the league from a $50 million loss to a $115 million net gain starting in 2026. This is why the upcoming CBA negotiations are so crucial. The players want a bigger slice of this growing pie, and they currently have more leverage than ever before. Thinking of the WNBA like a startup, the players have been here since the beginning, taking low wages in hopes of cashing in once the money starts flowing. Now that the money is coming, should they get a share in that success? In addition to a media rights deal, the WNBA gets money from ticket sales, which have increased in attendance and sold-out game, proof of its increasing popularity among the fans. They also get money from sponsorships, companies investing in the league overall, as well as the teams individually. They get money from merchandise. They're seeing increasing sales in fans buying jerseys, gear, and miscellaneous items. And making the biggest news, they'll get money from the expansion teams and the fees they'll pay to get into the league. By 2030, we're looking at 4 additional teams join the league. And while the Valkyries paid $50 million to join, the newest teams are paying $250 million. So of course, the players, the NBA, and even the owners want a piece of this influx of money. And while the players want to see their salaries increase, the owners want to use this new revenue to recoup past losses and fund expansion. And technically, you can understand both perspectives. But here's the key point. The WNBA can't reach profitability without investing in its product, and the players are the product. The league has taken steps with some improved facilities and charter flights, but the question remains, is 9.3% revenue share fair for the athletes who make the whole league possible? The WNBA isn't failing. It's underfunded by choice. Revenue has nearly doubled from $102 million in 2019 to over $200 million in 2024. Attendance is up, merchandise sales are growing, and new sponsors are coming in. The real question isn't, can the WNBA afford to pay the players more? It's, should players get a bigger share of revenue even if the league isn't profitable yet? That estimated 9.3% should definitely be increased. But real movement and real motion will only happen if they increase their leverage at the negotiation table. The players will probably get a higher percentage of the revenue share, but how can they get a piece of the profit pie? The only way to truly increase their leverage is making some infrastructure improvements that can change everything. It's interesting to consider what they can and can't do under the NBA umbrella, but the WNBA has such a different relationship with its fans that it can capitalize on other ways of gaining revenue. They can create VIP fan experiences, premium hospitality moments that command excellent prices. The league is at a decent moment where it's not too big to make these experiences affordable and worth it. They can develop superstar marketing strategies, treat players like the global brands they could be, thinking outside the box and more specifically the USA. The WNBA has excellent global expansion potential. Basketball is one of the most watched global women's sport, and the WNBA can capitalize on some very popular players in their native country. Taking advantage of specific players can do a lot for the WNBA's global footprint. Building dedicated sales teams instead of sharing and depending on the NBA's infrastructure, as well as just finding different ways to bring in revenue. As great as the $2.2 billion media rights deal is, they did this again under the umbrella with the NBA in charge of all the negotiations. So as much as they got two, a lot of people think they could have negotiated for more. One of the best things the WNBA can do is to stop depending solely on broadcast deals that are negotiated by the NBA and ultimately come up with new ideas by partnering with the WNBPA to come up with some creative revenue streams. Not only would this be a smart move on the league's part, but it would show how the WNBA and the players are on the same side of this negotiation pie. These types of improvements could add another 50 to 100 million in annual revenue. And more revenue means more leverage in the negotiations. Less dependence on NBA subsidies means more independence and profit actually going to the players. This is the only way they'll truly see more from the profit the WNBA is primed to make. They have to build as much independent value that can't be controlled by the NBA's 42% ownership stake. The WNBA is literally owned and operated by the NBA. It's creative and strategically structured to be dependent on the NBA, and will have to fight tooth and nail for any real percentage of the profit the league generates. Without real numbers, we are quite literally guessing at the financials the two parties are bargaining over. But from what we do know, $200 million in TV deals, another $250 million in expansion fees should now cover 20 years worth of subsidies and allow them to restructure this partnership. So what do we think? Should the WNBA get an increase in revenue share? Should they have to wait until the league is profitable and just get a piece of that pie? If you found this zoom in breakdown interesting at all, please hit that like button. Thanks for watching. You are truly appreciated, and catch me in the next one.
Don't forget to like and subscribe, players.